Welcome to another episode of Inspired Voices. My name is Oliver Riera, and this is Terri Dollar.
Hello.
Whoop, whoop. And put some cheers in there.
Yes, where's the soundtrack of people cheering?
Yeah, right.
Not here.
Why don't you tell everybody what you do?
Okay, well, I'm an agent. I'm a talent agent with KU Talent Agency. And that's my primary job.
Yeah.
I also teach a special drama class called STAR, Special Theater Arts Raleigh, that won the Raleigh Medal of Arts last year. So it's kind of a big deal. My class did. Yes.
Nice.
Yep. So that's cool.
I was wondering, I wanted to have you back because like the last time you had you on, you were still doing Artsplosure.
Oh, yeah.
And, whoa, hey.
Yes. My other former life was that I was a festival producer for like 21 years.
Yeah. And that I feel like that was like 2018?
2019.
2019. Mm-hmm. I don't want to say two. Okay.
Yeah, right before the pandemic. Right before the pandemic, yeah.
That's wild.
I don't miss that very much.
Yeah.
I don't.
And that's a lot of work too.
So much work.
Yeah.
You were there a couple times.
Yeah,
you did some stuff with it.
To
Great.
put on a festival like that?
It's huge. It's huge. But, it's kind of like, it's sort of like giving birth. And it's really hard, and you're really glad when it's finished, and you look at it and you're like, wow, I did that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
But I mean, I did not, especially first night, which is a wonderful event. Mm-hmm. A wonderful event.
It's the New Year's event in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Where we drop an acorn, a beautiful acorn made by artist David Benson. I've done so many of these PR things for first night. I could go right back into it. And I love Artsplosure. I love what it stands for. It's about art to the people, and I love all of that. Don't get me wrong. I love that. But I'm at a certain age that it's physically really hard. I was reminded of it last weekend. We had a holiday party for our agency last weekend, and that was like a little mini event. And I was reminded of it as I'm hauling cases of water and drinks, and I'm tired, I'm uncomfortable, I want to be home in my pajamas, and I'm doing that. And I thought, oh yeah, this is why you're not doing festivals anymore, Terri Dollar.
Yeah.
So, but it's wonderful. But first night especially, New Year's Eve especially, the weather would often be cold and miserable, and everybody's with their families. And I made a promise to my husband that when I stopped doing first night, we would always be in our pajamas when the midnight.
Because 21 years?
Yeah, 21
you never
years.
Got to experience New Year's.
And I would
with
see
the
my
family.
friends like inside restaurants, and they were dressed nicely, and they were eating and drinking, and I had been on my feet. I mean, I used to get 50,000 steps on the first night day. So, but I would be, on my feet for like 16, 17 hours. I literally worked for like 24 hours straight just to do that event. And that's not even counting all the hours and days leading up to it. It was hard.
Yeah.
It was wonderful.
You were in charge of it too, right?
Yeah, I was the program
That's
director. Yes, the executive director would usually be with the VIPs in the lounge. And people would often say, I'll see you at the VIP lounge. I was like, you won't see me at the VIP lounge.
Right.
No, I've never even been. Not one time did I even attend.
Yeah.
So I was like, no. I mean, I'm out there in the trenches with my crew, with my volunteers.
Do you feel like when you were doing that, do you feel like you were just someone that was putting out fires constantly?
Yeah, I mean, of course. On festival day, that is what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's just like everybody. And you try to, I had some amazing volunteers and amazing crew people. I mean, I can't even tell you. There's a guy named Cameron Duncan who was the bomb. I mean, the bomb. He still works for them, and he was a technical director, and he, was just one of those people that I could entrust to put out fires. So I just had to say, Cameron, can you just take care of it? And I knew he would do the right thing. Nice. So I had a lot of people like that. But then there's other people that really just needed to hear my voice and have a piece of me. And I'm saying everybody.
Helping hand kind of thing.
Yeah, it was true. But it's an all day long thing. And so, it was hard. But I'm glad it's over. I'm glad it's still successful.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of volunteers in that too, right?
Oh,
so
200 volunteers.
It's like,
200 volunteers.
Wow.
And then I had like a core group of people that they called my posse. And they would say, and these were like retired people who just like to do this, college kids that had worked for me since they were like 14, all kinds of people that were great like that.
Yeah. What made you get into that in the first place?
Well, I'll tell you, I needed money.
Okay.
I needed a job. I needed real money. And it was time. So I always tell people this. I was telling one of my daughters recently, I didn't really even start my true career until I was like 40 years old.
Oh, wow.
Because before that, I ran a community art school. I taught theater. I did a lot of odd jobs, but I was mostly a mom. And both of my kids were professional actors. So
That's right.
I was a stage mother. I can't even tell you so much. And I had just started the agency, but it wasn't making enough money. And my daughter was going to out-of-state college, and she was a professional actor, and she'd saved quite a lot of money. We'd saved quite a lot of money for college, but she went to Boston University. It was really expensive, and I was like, okay, you have a master's degree, you're educated, you have experience, there's something out there that you can do. And I was having lunch with a friend, not knowing what I was going to do. I thought maybe I might go back to teaching. In my former life, I'd been a public school teacher.
Right.
So I thought,
At Broughton.
Yeah, Broughton High School, that's right. And I thought, okay, maybe I'll do that. And then I was there and we saw this lady, her name's Ann Smith. She's like the fairy godmother of First Night Raleigh. And she said they're looking for a program director. And she said, well, tell me about what you do. And then once I really told her all the different pieces, she said, you'd be great for this. And so I went that day and I talked to the executive director and he hired me on the spot.
Really? Damn.
So, and I had never planned a festival before, but I'd been like just a super volunteer at every arts organization you can imagine.
Okay.
I'd done a lot of that.
So
kind
you've
of stuff.
seen it.
Yeah. So I'd seen a lot and I'd organized a lot of things. I never ever should people feel like the volunteer stuff that they do might not be, preparing them for a real job. The thing that actually I think prepared me the most for the job was I'd been the cultural arts representative at my kids' schools, which meant I met performers and I knew so many actors and performers. I knew jugglers, I knew dancers, I knew those people because I'd worked in that world my whole life.
Okay, so bringing it back a little bit. So you're from Shelby, North Carolina. You were a high school Broughton teacher. You majored in the arts. What was the goal initially for acting? Because like a lot of actors would be, let's say, like making it.
Right. Well, I was a child actor myself. So I did but I lived in a really small town. There were not a lot of opportunities. Most everything was involved in church and stuff like that. So
gotcha.
I did all that stuff when I was coming along, and I did school stuff. I mean, I was in every musical. I was that actor person. I was.
Just put it in the mic a little closer to you.
Okay.
There you go.
Yep. I was that actor kid, I was one of those theater nerds in high school, really pathetic. There was a whole group of us. We were so nerdy.
But like when you were acting and stuff, like, was there like a goal?
I think in my heart of hearts, I always thought, okay, I always knew I was going to work in the arts. I always knew that. I never once, anytime I worked out of the arts, I was really depressed and felt like I was wasting my life. I really didn't like anything that didn't have to do with the arts. But yeah, did I want to go to New York and be a famous actor? Of course I did.
Sure.
Of course I did. But I thought, for me, to start out with, I just knew I needed to get out of school and I needed to make some money. And, I thought, okay, teach school for a few years and then you'll make some money and then you can move to New York and follow your dreams.
Is that like establishing yourself as an adult?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so, for sure. But, honestly, I had like a life thing happen to me. I got my job teaching and I'd already thought about my trip, my moving to New York and that kind of thing. And I had gone to New York with a friend. I was like, oh, this would be cool. I could do this. I mean, I was one of those people that was really wildly ignorant, but I had a lot of self-confidence.
Well, that was the first time going out to New York? Too?
Yeah, no second. But I was like, I had a lot of self-confidence. I mean, believe me, not founded. How many times did not New York, but in my life, other people would say, "Oh yeah, like you can do that."
Right,
you can do
right.
That.
Yeah.
But I don't know. My parents really did instill in me this thought that why don't you try it? I'll bet you could do it. So, I did that. But so I had met my husband too.
That's actually kind of like not brave, but pretty cool of your parents to like support you on that kind of thing, especially going up to New York.
Well, I was a middle child, and there were not a lot of expectations of me. It wasn't like they didn't like say, you're the smartest, you're the best. They didn't. But what they knew was my mother said, I will never worry about you. And I said, why? And she said, because you're not afraid to work. Ooh. And that was the thing she knew. She said, you can make money. And I did. I was very industrious as a child.
Really? Like what kind of things
I started out like babysitting and, I would see somebody wanted somebody to feed their cat or whatever. I was all about that money. Yeah. And I started working in a donut store when I was 14 years old. I was babysitting for this couple and I may have told you that story before, and they
Yeah,
needed,
sure.
it was the first donut shop in our little town, and they were desperate because they were slammed. Everybody was really excited about the donut store. So anyway, they asked me if my mother and I could come and help them box donuts one night. So we came up there, and the guy said, you have a good personality. You probably be good working the window. And I looked at my mother, and she was like, well, if you want to do it, you have to get your permit and all that good stuff. And so I did, and I was 14. She dropped me off at like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning on Saturday morning. Saturday and Sunday morning. I worked the weekend because
For a kid to do that.
Oh yeah, it was a lot. But I was so excited. I got my check, and I'm like, holy crap.
Were you excited after the check or before the check?
Oh, I was excited both times. I mean, I love donuts for one thing. I'm obsessed with them. So I was like, oh, this is my heaven to be in this place. I got sick of donuts by the end of that. But anyway, but my mother suddenly, I was 22 years old, and I was teaching at Broughton High School at the time and directing Our Town. Strangely, I was in the middle of directing that play. And my mother passed away suddenly. She was 45 years old. And, all of a sudden, just like life just changed.
You were directing the play, you said?
I was directing the play,
So, like,
Our Town at Broughton High School.
Oh, man.
Which, if you remember that play, there's a lot about... and there's that scene when they're all in heaven, like all the parents, and they're looking down at anyway, it was a very, it's a super meaningful play. And I was in the middle of directing the show. We were going to open, and like, my mother was on a life support machine for like a month before she passed away.
Right.
And I came back to Raleigh for opening night, even though I had missed like the last week of the show. And because I just had to. And I literally drove here, saw the play, and then drove back to Shelby. But I remember going backstage with my cast. And I'll tell you somebody who's in Raleigh still, he was in my cast, is a guy named Brent Wilson, was in the cast. So anyway, brilliant young actor. Yeah. But so I went backstage with my cast, and, I was like, this play, it means more to me now than anything.
That's what you're telling the cast?
Yeah. So we're all sobbing before they all go out there. I'm like,
so you told them the news about what happened?
Oh, they knew because I hadn't been there for the very end. A friend of mine took it over at the very end. But yeah, she passed away. And then, I don't know, it was like what's truly important mattered to me. And my husband, who was my boyfriend, we weren't even engaged. We talked about getting engaged, but we weren't engaged. He and I got really close during all that time. And anyway, I just wanted to get married and have a baby.
Because like I remember you saying like life is short.
Yeah.
Right? Is
life
that when
is
you
really short. Yeah.
accepted that?
And later on, psychologists in therapy would tell me years later, when I'm dealing with issues with my own daughter, that, I have a hard time with separation stuff. And she said, because, she let go suddenly. And, so you don't want to let go of this one because she let go. And my desire to have a child right away was really all about, I needed that connection. Even if I had to be the mother, I needed that connection. So
interesting. It's crazy how our lives turn out, right?
Yeah, it is. I'm not sad about it at all. It was just like I had zero desire to do that. Zero. And it really went away.
Go into the acting?
To go and to be an actor.
To be an actor.
I had zero desire. None whatsoever. None whatsoever. I don't know why. It's just like that. And maybe a lot of it was because that was my mother's dream for me. Right. I don't know.
And that was after she passed?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Like during all of that, I thought, I don't care about moving to New York. I don't want to do that. It's just, I felt really raw. My emotions felt raw. I just wanted to be with people who loved me and feel close and cozy. And
I'm always interested in those kind of things that happen in life, because it's like you go for this thing and it's so big, and then all of a sudden you're like, I don't want to do that. It's like, It's like, is it because of this? Am I really supposed to be doing that, or is it because of this that led me down to a different path? And all these things, but like. Yeah. Your daughter turned out great.
Yeah. I was so glad. What a blessing she was. She really was. She was just, I can't even tell you. There was all this like I wrote her letters too when she was when I was pregnant with her and when she was born, because I was really, really, really mourning my mother. You know, during all that. That's when I truly mourned. I was pregnant with her, and we lived in Wilmington then, and I used to go over to Wrightsville Beach, and I would I had this great. She was born in September, so this was like in the summer, and I would go and I would park at Johnny Mercer Pier. I went for 1 hour every single day, and that's when I allowed myself to just cry. But so sometimes I would sit there, and then I just really got tired of people looking at my face, so I would dig a hole in the dirt for my belly to go, not in the dirt but in the sand. I would dig a hole in the sand for my belly to go, and then I would just lie down on a towel. Put the towel inside the hole, and then you could lie on your stomach, so you didn't even look pregnant then. You just looked normal, and that way I would just lie there and sob. Because when a pregnant woman's sobbing in the deck chair at the beach, people think, "Oh my God, are you all right?" I just got sick of people asking me. I'm fine, but I just was like, I would go there and look at the ocean, and I would just allow myself to just sob.
Was that like kind of how many times were you doing that?
A lot.
A lot.
Like all summer. I don't know. I had a great tan. Be a surprise. Later on, I dealt with the melanoma from that, but I had a great tan for a redhead. I was like, God, look at me. That's what you need to do. Right. Just sit in the sun an hour a day, and then you tan. So
yeah, there you go.
But yeah, it was a tough time. I was thinking about my mom recently because I'm obsessed with reality TV, not the gross stuff, but the good stuff. I'm obsessed with shows like The Voice. I'm obsessed with that show. Yeah. I'm obsessed with it. And I know a lot of it's because of what I do. And, I just love the fact, I love the people. I just love the whole thing of it. But Reba McEntire is one of the guest judges this season. And she has this song out that's called 7 Minutes in Heaven. And she wrote it for her mother. And it's about, if I could go to heaven, I wouldn't pay attention to this. I wouldn't pay attention to that. All I'd want to do would be to spend 7 minutes talking to you. And I was thinking, oh my God, yes. I would see my dad and I would say, I've talked to you in the last few years. Right. No. I need to talk to that woman.
What kind of things would you tell your mom? Is it
my God.
Is it like mom things?
No, I would say mostly, look, I turned out okay. I was a big mess, but I turned out okay. And, look at these amazing grandchildren and great grandchildren. Look at them, because she didn't get to see any of that stuff.
Right, right. Well, do you feel like you base a lot of your decisions through your mom and like what she does?
Oh yeah. I can remember, and I've told people this before, but at the funeral, and even during the time that she was sick, my mother was, she was a super generous, outgoing, giving person. And I remember seeing all these people, and I was thinking inside myself, I said, my God, you're just self-absorbed and selfish. If you died, people would come because they loved your mother, but not one person would say, oh, Terri was just like the nicest person and really helped me do this.
That's what you thought?
That's what I actually thought. I thought, because I had been kind of self-absorbed. And honestly, if you talk to some of my ex-roommates from college, they would say, oh yeah, she was really into herself. When in fact, I really wasn't into myself as much as I had a double major. I majored in theater and in English because I was terrified that I couldn't get a job teaching theater, because those were kind of hard to come by.
Right.
So I'd always really loved, I was good in English. So I majored in that too. So, I was taking 21, 22 hours. I was obsessed with myself, but it wasn't like I stood all day and looked in the mirror. I just didn't have time for their tomfoolery. I didn't have time for that. I had to study. I was in rehearsal. I was very focused and all that stuff.
Is it because like people your age at the time were just kind of like doing their own thing and you were focused on the future?
Yeah, I think so. Or, I'm maybe just so focused on the present and what I had to do right then. That, I didn't have time for it. And I know that they would probably say, she was pretty full of herself. But, I was more like, I can do this. I've got this. I don't need your help. I can do this. But in turn, I wasn't like I became a nicer person, a much nicer person after my mother died. And I remember thinking, you help people. You are, my mother always used to say, she was a very religious person, but she would say, to whom much is given, much is expected. That's in the Bible somewhere, I think. I don't know. I'm not that religious, but I used to think about it and I thought, oh yeah, I have a lot. So I need to give. And whether that means giving of my time and giving of myself or giving of my money or whatever. So I do a lot of that now.
Yeah, I love giving.
I do too.
Like, especially like when you get caught up in moments in life and stuff, you forget that there's this other side of giving, and you've just been trying to receive and trying to get what you want to get without giving and stuff like that. And so that's a big part of life is just the giving.
It is. And it's actually, I always say to people, because especially the STAR class that I teach is a volunteer job. And people always say, oh, that's so great what you do with them. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Do you know how selfish this is? I mean, I am never as loved as I am at STAR class. Because you walk in and you're like a rock star.
Yeah.
Terri, and people come and they want to hug you and they want to touch you. And I mean, they're just the most generous, giving people and most accepting, incredible people. Whenever I've been down in my life, those guys and their parents are like, I'm like, are you kidding? And then just to watch how they work so hard on what they do and what they're able to accomplish, it's amazing. We have some of our helpers. I know I'm bouncing all over the place.
You're good, no worries. We're having a conversation. It's
typical. But I have some of my helpers who've gone through some issues, and we have one kid who is transgender kid. And he came up to me after coming to class as a girl the year before and coming back, and he says, I'm a boy. And I said, I got it. And he said, how do I, tell the STAR kids? Because the STAR kids are kids they're not kids, they're adults. I always call them kids, but they're not. They're adults. They're like in their 30s, 20s, 30s, 40s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
So
I was thinking like 10.
No. These are fully formed adults. And we even have one who turned 50. So yeah, but I call them kids. But how do I approach this with STAR? And I said, are you kidding me? Here is a group of people who their entire lives have wanted to be included. And for you, all you do is just say, hey guys, I'm a boy now. This is what you call me. And trust me when I say they will accept that. They will accept you. You will not be judged one bit. This is the least judgmental place you're going to be all day or all year for that matter. And it's true. It's very, very,
you surround
very
yourself
true.
with the right kind of people, then they're going to be accepting of it. I always said, like, I've said this in several podcasts, but like the people always say, well, not everyone, but they say that I'm not vulnerable with just anyone. I'm vulnerable with the right people. But for me, I'm more vulnerable with everyone. And then letting the right people surround me with show while I'm showing my vulnerability,
right?
Stuff like
that. Oh yeah, surrounding yourself with the right people is huge.
Yeah, huge.
I don't even know how to even say that. I don't like hanging out with people that have like weird energies, and I don't know. I definitely don't like working with assholes and jerks, and I just don't anymore. And in my business, I don't have to if I don't want to.
Sure.
So it's funny. I just don't. Don't. If we find out that somebody has like is really jerky person and they do some sort of little snip to us, we're like,
yeah, pull the plug.
Yeah, you're not getting any more auditions if you're one of my actors, and if you're a casting person or whatever. Nope, I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
If you're going to be a jerk, I don't want to work with you. If you're not a nice person, I don't want to work with you. Because life is too short to work with people that aren't quality people. And I don't like to work with people that I can't trust, or I don't know. I just don't. I used to have to do those things in my younger life sometimes. I'm at an age right now where I do not have to.
Yeah.
I don't need any amount of money. I don't need anything like that enough to do that.
Right. So going back to giving a little bit, when your mom passed and you started to want to give more and stuff like that, was it like more of like a volunteer thing, or was it just through your work, through your everyday kind of thing?
It was everything. Gotcha. It really was. I wanted to be just a nicer person for one thing, but I found myself just finding, and I used to tell people this when they were volunteering for me at Arts Pleasure. They would say, what do I do? And I would say, your job right now is just to walk around and find where help is needed and give it. So, and that's just kind of what I do in my life now too.
Yeah.
If I see somebody who looks like they need, I pay attention, but if they look like they need help, then I give it to them.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just a hug. Or sometimes it's like, I don't know. I've been known to give random people money on the street. I do random things like that. I did a lot of it when I was working at Arts Pleasure, just because I happened to find myself in the middle of people that needed stuff.
And it kind of like trains. You're kind of training those people to pay attention, to be aware of the situations around them.
Right.
I love those kind of people that just like see me struggling with bags and they come and help. I'm like, oh, thank you. Finally.
Yeah. Who doesn't do that? But I think we live in a world, especially during COVID, it was really hard because we were afraid, I don't want to do that because I don't want to get that close to them because they might think I'm going to give them something or whatever. But
not that kind of gift.
Yeah. But I mean, if you ask me, it's interesting. I mean, I'm a real sucker for like, handing people money and stuff like that. Not on the side of the road. I don't want to roll down my window. I'm afraid of you. But if I walk by you in a shopping center or something and you're there, I'm a real sucker for that. Particularly if you're playing a musical instrument. Yeah. I don't know why. all artists in general, I can't help myself.
You're attracted to it.
Yeah, and I'm a lot of that. I don't know. It's just something that I feel like my husband and I talked about it a lot, and we'll say, we're going to give her some extra money, and whoever it might be, and we'll say, yeah, I think she needs it. Yeah. It's like we're not rich, but we have enough. So and we're at that point where we have worked really hard, but I don't need to make bunches of money, which some people would say, well, then why are you still working? Because I'm 67 years old. A lot of people are retired at my age. I don't wish to retire. I don't, maybe when I do, I will, but I don't feel like it right now.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've still got stuff to give and people that, I can help their careers. And I enjoy the excitement of it all. I don't really want to. When I start, forgetting people's names entirely or whatever. Who is that actor? Julie and I both do that now sometimes, that we'll say, oh my God, what's his name?
Well, you guys have each other.
Yeah, I know.
Figure it out.
He's younger than I am, but we both still forget sometimes. But no, I don't. I like working. And in other cultures, people work much longer than they do in the United States. I can't even imagine. I mean, but I would stay busy. Even if I didn't have the agency, I mean, I would be busy doing other things.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you're a natural worker. You're a natural entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You're someone who really just likes to dig in.
I do.
Things.
Yeah, and I'm not afraid to work. I'm not afraid of that. I'm not afraid of that at all. But no, I try just to be... in my real life, I try to just see who needs help and just give them help. So we had an example of that. We had our holiday party for our agency last weekend, and instead of people giving me gifts, I asked them to bring a toy to donate for Toys for Tots, and I put in other things. And so I happen to know. This sounds like such a bougie thing to say, but at my nail salon, there's a guy who works there who has 4 children, and his mother-in-law's been really sick, and they're under like age 4. And I know how they struggle. I mean, he's selling eggs from his farm there. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
And so I picked out some of the best little girl things, and I took them to him, and I said, I don't know if you want these, but this could help help with your Santa Claus. And he said, that's so weird that you would think of me. And I was like, no, I mean it. Honestly, this is cool. This is great that I'm able to. So I said, a lot of that's going to Toys for Tots and the Helping Hand mission. And
people remember that kind of thing too.
Well, I didn't do it for him to remember it. I just thought he needs that help.
Yeah.
And whether he knows it or not, he didn't ask me. I just volunteered.
Yeah, I think if you're someone who upholds somebody and does nice things for them without even asking or wanting something in return or anything like that, those kind of things really, they keep you in mind for the future, and not even as a you don't have to do it because of that.
Right.
But
no, but I think it's a drop in the bucket kind of thing. I think it really is. I really do think it's and I also think, I don't know, Oliver, I have trouble watching the news these days just because of everything that's going on in the world. And I feel like, somewhere I still believe that people are good.
Yeah.
So, and I think that they, I find that I've traveled a lot of places in this world, and I find commonalities. I always find commonalities with mothers. I can be on a train in Russia and I see somebody with a child, and I'm immediately making faces at that baby, just trying to occupy them. I can't help myself. I've done it before in New York, and my daughters would say, "Mother, please do not do that. You're embarrassing me. People do not do that in cities." It's a baby. She was like, "No, you don't get on the train and say, 'Oh yes, we went to that sale at Bloomingdale too. Didn't you like it?'" She's like, "No, don't do that. That's your funny Southern mother thing. Please do not do that. It's embarrassing, and people really don't like it here." So I was like, well, they should like it. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. As long as you say it with a smile, then it's fine.
Well, I'm getting to the point that I'm getting old enough that people know I'm not a threat.
Right.
I'm like,
right.
I know you could take me down. That's fine. I'm not afraid. I mean, I know. Don't be afraid of me. Do I look like I could outrun you? I don't think so.
Right.
But,
right.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. So when did you start the agency again?
I don't know the actual year, but we know it's at least 25 years old.
Okay. So before you had the agency, what led you to start the agency?
Well, I was represented by this woman whose name was Boots Bruner, and her company was called Actors Unlimited.
Okay.
And frankly, she had like all of the really good actors in town. She really did. She had a very small agency, but
Was that North Carolina? Okay.
She was actually the first agent in North Carolina. When Dino De Laurentiis built the studio in Wilmington and the Finn Cannons started casting, he said to them, well, we've got to get some agents going here. And they said, well, there's not any agents. And Boots had been a choreographer for dinner theaters. And so she knew most of the actors, because it used to be there was this like cult of dinner theaters.
Sure.
Like Raleigh had one or two. There was one out by the airport. There was one in Greensboro, Burlington. And so people they would do a play and they would just like take it to like these really close enough places and do it 3 or 4 times. And she was a choreographer. And so she knew everybody. And she was, named Boots. Her real name was Miriam, I think, but they called her Boots because of the dancing part. So anyway, so she was our agent, but she was really elderly at this point. And she went through some dementia things, and then she was going to have heart surgery, and she said, I just have to quit. Terry, I have to quit. And she represented me and both of my daughters. And at this point, my daughters' careers were way, way, way more advanced than mine was.
Okay, so they were signed to her?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we all three were. She called us the Silver Dollars.
Ooh.
The News and Observer did an article on us called the Silver Dollar Girls. Anyway, because we worked together a lot. We did a lot of stuff together, but they did bigger, way more important things than I did. But I said, no, we need you, because I knew the value of having an agent who really likes you and really believes in what you can do. Yeah. And, when casting calls, you're like I always, tell my actors, you need to be like the first 2 or 3 people. If it's your type, you need to be one of the top 2 or 3 people of those types for us to represent you effectively. And I knew we were, and not to mention the fact that I had already been helping her kind of get into the current decade. I helped her set up her first fax machine, which is how all the breakdowns used to come. And and I had one of those gigantic big camcorder cameras. I was one of the few people who had that thing, and I would help her tape actors sometimes, which taping actors, it's nothing like we do now. You had to take that VHS tape, drive it to the airport to get on a FedEx plane at 9:00 at night for it to be in LA the next morning.
Wow.
And it cost a fortune. It was expensive. It was, but I helped her with that stuff, and her actors, we were seeing some results from that. So
were the actors paying for that, or did you guys pay for it?
Oh, we paid for it. That was an agency expense. Yeah. Yeah. That's what Boots would say. So I had already been helping her some. So I said, Boots, let me do the agency. Let me do the agency.
What made you decide that, though?
I just didn't want to lose her. I wanted her to get well. I thought I can get her through this rough spot, then she'll be back. It's just heart surgery, right? You'll be back, right? So, and I also thought, and her family was very appreciative because it gave her something to, because she was seriously ill. And then she came back and I enjoyed being an agent. I did. I found out that I liked it a lot. And what was wonderful was there was no learning curve for me because I just rode her coattails. Everyone loved her. She was the most beloved agent in the Southeast. And so people would just call her. Back then you had to be sitting beside your phone for sure.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
No cell phones, none of that stuff. Of course, so you had to be sitting beside your phone or you might miss this call. She did have an answering machine, thankfully.
If you want to put the cut just a little bit
there you
further
go.
down.
We don't want to advertise Yeti.
Not yet. Sponsorship right here.
But anyway, so I had already so I kind of, I was able, people started saying things to me like casting directors would say, "Ooh, are you going to keep doing this?" And I was like, "Oh, no, she's coming back." No. But she came back for a short period of time, but she really couldn't handle it. So she didn't know what to do. She just said, "I'm just going to farm everybody out with all the different agents." And so I kind of liked the idea of, and a lot of people had said there's not a youth agency here. My favorite part of doing the agency had been working with the kids. And she didn't, she had like 8 kids and 2 of them were mine. So I liked that though, and I wanted to develop that more.
What was it about the kids that, I know you were a mom and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, I think because I'd been a teacher before too, and there was just something that was super exciting about that, about working with these kids and
was it the playfulness of it?
Oh, yeah, and also just the potential that was there, and also the fact that most of them were not counting on this. I also didn't have a lot of confidence that I could work because she had people that absolutely depended on the money to survive. Like they supported themselves as actors. And I thought, ooh, I don't know if I want that kind of pressure. And they were mostly like, frankly, they were like contemporaries of mine. And I was like, I don't know. He's just this old fart actor who's just going to be complaining every day that he didn't get a job. I don't want to handle that because I was really involved as a mother at that point, and my kids they needed a lot. So anyway, long story short, I took it over, but I changed the name to Kids Unlimited instead of Actors Unlimited since I just had kids. And, we just kept growing and growing and growing and growing. And then...
Was it naturally growing, or was it like, did you have to market yourself kind of thing?
I have never marketed myself.
Yeah.
I don't. I've never had to. And maybe that's to my demise. I just don't. I just always feel like if it's a good product and you're good at what you do, people that you want to, and people have asked me before, why don't you have like an office, like, on a street or in a shopping center or something? I'm like, are you crazy? Are you crazy? All I would do all day long is talk to, mothers about how beautiful their babies are and how they need to get into acting, or, actors would think, I'm just going to drop by and talk to Terri for a few minutes. That's not how I make money. That's not how we make money. That's not how actors make money. There's no money made when we're doing those things. Not that it's not fun to do. It is fun. I can chat all day long, but I make money by finding auditions for my actors.
Yes.
And helping them book their roles. So, and I can do that from anywhere.
Yeah.
So, I have the utmost respect for agents who would have like a storefront. I just didn't. I never wanted to do that. But no, I just found the people, they came to me mostly, friends of friends, where I would see. The kids I went to, and I still try to go to I used to go to all the school shows, like Ligon Middle School, I would go to their musical. I'd be waiting afterwards, trying not to act like that stalky, weird old lady that's out there with her business card. I would look until I saw a parent walk up, and I would say, there's your mother. Your son was great in the show. If you're ever looking for an agent, here's my card. So I did some of that, and then people told me about them, and I don't know. For a long time, I was like the only one here that most of the agents here didn't want to work with kids. They were like, oh God, thank God you're doing them. I can't stand their mothers, the stage mothers. The kids are great, but the stage mothers. And I was like, that's offensive because I was a stage mother and you don't have to be that way.
Talking about me.
Yeah. But it did give me kind of a unique perspective, having been a kid actor myself and also a stage mom and all those things. Because I understood it. I understood what they were going through. I understood, I would say, take this when you go on the set with a 5-year-old. Oh my God, bring your bag of tricks because you're going to be sitting around a lot. So everything that you can do, bring something cozy because they may want to take a nap. I'm just telling you, it's a long day. So
when you took over the agency, were you still doing the same things as far as like taping actors and
oh yeah,
all
my
those
dining room
expenses?
became the new place. There's so many actors that got roles. I used to have this kind of pink wall, and people used to talk about that pink wall is I want to be taped in front of that pink wall.
Oh, the famous pink wall.
Yeah. So yeah, I did a lot of taping. I used to tape actors because nobody had the capability to do it themselves, or very few people did.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did tape a lot of actors. Yeah, I have a lot of good archival footage that I need to pull out and put together a reel because I mean, there's some really good stuff there.
Yeah, I bet. And it was like, it had to be right too. You can't edit it or anything like that.
Editing. No,
Yeah, no
editing at all. And especially back then, we would be sending like the whole tape. Like I'm recording on the tape. And then, I mean, later on, it got better because I got a smaller, so that the tape itself wasn't actually in, we used those little mini tapes. And you would tape on that and then transfer it over to a VHS. Because the VHS was still the only way that most people could play it. Yeah. So
that's tough because, well, not tough, but like a money spender because you got like a 2-minute audition when this like 90-minute tape.
Oh yeah, can I tell you how many tapes I have that I like recorded some TV show afterwards? I was like, oh well, we'll just do this now. We don't need that audition anymore. but yeah, I did a lot of that, and then as time went on, it seemed kind of crazy to give. I would represent actors, I would say, until they can't play 18 any longer. But then they would be like looking like they were 21. And I'm like, I have worked with you since you were 5. Do I really want to give you away to another agent? Now I have developed you. We've got this good thing going. And then, it was actually S03 was our first adult actor. He was taping actors at that point for us. And he said, I want you to represent me. And I said, Estes, look at my page. It's all cute little kids, and there's going to be this old dude. I
thought, okay, well, I didn't know Estes was your first one.
He was my very first adult who came to me as an adult.
That's wild.
Yeah, he was.
I thought it was way before.
No. He did. And I said, I was talking to Julie, and I was like, do we? She was like, I love Estes. Of course, let's do it. So, and I said, you don't care that you're represented by an agency called Kids Unlimited. He said, I don't care what they call you. He said, I see what you're getting for these guys, and I want a piece of that. So I was like, okay. And he was very successful. He was very successful. And we were like, what are we doing here? No, we need adults. And so a few other people started trickling in, and then they started trickling in more. And so then I thought, okay, we really have to come up with a different name because some people said, I have no problem calling this kids. Right. So then we started just kind of calling ourselves KU Talent. And people have asked me before what it stands for. And I'm just like, it's just an homage to the old name. I just didn't want to change it. We were already kind of branded. So didn't want to.
Makes sense.
Yeah, didn't want to change that.
Well, I think it's a great agency. I love you and Julie.
Oh,
you guys are a very nice team.
Thank you. Oh, she's great. I mean, Julie's fabulous. Yeah. She's fabulous. We make a good team. Yeah. We actually complement each other. It is really important. And there's a lot of mutual respect. And also there's things that I'm better at than she is. And she's better at things than I am. And I
did that kind of come naturally?
Yeah. There were also certain things that I had to say, oh God, this is not my strong suit. She would say, it's not mine either, but I'll try. And I would say, please just learn how to do that. So, so that you can do that. So I think, she always usually will relegate like musical theater stuff. She will say, oh, these people way better than I do, who can sing, who can dance, who can do those things. And she said, I don't understand that world like you do. So I usually do all those submissions, and I'll be like, oh no, yep, nope. He has no ballet training, so he cannot call himself a real Broadway dancer. So, those kinds of things that are just in my brain that I happen to know. Yeah. So
that's great. You guys have a really good dynamic, and I love the whole thing.
Oh, well, honestly. Thank you. We work hard. We really do. We had this party this past weekend because we actually represented.
Was that the first party?
First party ever.
Wow.
Maybe the last. It wore me out. I'm not kidding you. I'm still recovering.
But PTSD after that.
Oh my God. It was
back to the art exposure days.
It was a lot. We had 300 people come to this party. So There were people, because of the pandemic, we had maybe 100 people that we represent that we had never met in person. So it was kind of important, I thought, to do that, to do it. And also, just the pandemic, I don't know. I just felt like it was just time to kind of like come together. We needed to come together. We needed to all of us just be in a space, and it was so cool. I saw one of my oldest actors is an actor named Jim France, and
yeah, Jim.
I love Jim France. Yeah. He's wonderful, and he
British
said to
actor.
me, "I saw people that I met people that I didn't know. I saw people that I knew but hadn't spoken to in a long time. And then I saw people that I knew well, but we never get to hang out." And he said it was just the best party. So I was like, good.
Yeah, everyone met each other. I'm actually planning on having Jim on the podcast. I haven't talked to him yet, but he is on my
so
mind.
interesting. He's just a very interesting person. He's had a very interesting life. And you have to, if you have him on, you have to show part of his demo has, I don't know if you've ever seen this part, but there's some movie, I don't think it was with me, but he plays like, it's like a surreal character. He's like a devil, and he has like horns and anyway, it is surreal.
Okay.
If I ever just want to just like get cheered up, I would just look at Jim France's demo tape, because that scene is he's real. I looked at it to start with, and I thought, what in the world are you getting ready to do here?
Maybe we'll play it on the screen.
It's funny. It's really funny. It's quite
hilarious.
good. He's so talented, though.
Yeah, he is. He is. He's really nice.
We have so many really, really, really talented people like that, too.
How do you pick your actors? Obviously, it's got to be good acting, right?
Yes.
But as far as like personality goes, do you take that in consideration?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think,
I feel like that's hard to do during the pandemic,
hard.
especially.
It has been hard. That's why we did a lot of interviews, and we asked people, even in their virtual auditions, we were just like, tell us about yourself. Tell us what you like to do. And, if I'm looking at a kid actor, if a kid actor says to me, I just love to act. All I love to do is act. I want to act all day. I just want to be famous. I just want to act. I'm not interested in that person, because they're probably boring. And
I always told all my actors, like, if any interview you go to, it doesn't matter if it's acting, if they tell me about yourself, they just want to see your personality.
Yes.
That's all it is.
Yes. Tell me that you ate the best spaghetti of your life for lunch today, and tell me about that. I'm more interested in that. But I always like young actors. I love it when they say, I like to read. I like to read, and I'm really into this murder mystery or whatever. If they tell me those things, then I go, you're probably a good reader, because in terms of the number one thing that makes a great, like especially young child actor, is an excellent reader, because they already can read something and give it meaning. And it takes a long time for kids to be able to do that. Like little kids especially, they can't do that. That's why I would say memorize it. And the union has now negotiated that actors, you'll see on an audition that says lines do not have to be memorized, which is BS. It's BS.
That is BS.
I mean, actors, I know that actors have rallied for this. And if you are, Meryl Streep, sure, you don't need to memorize your lines, because you can look at that and make meaning. But an 8-year-old kid from Fuquay Varina cannot read the script with his head down the whole time and make meaning of that. So I go, I know they say you don't have to, and you don't have to, but I can guarantee you the person who gets the role has memorized their part.
You have to.
Yeah.
Right?
Does it have to be verbatim? No, but memorize the gist of it. I'd much rather see you improv it out than to read it, because it's not going to work.
Yeah,
so
and memorizing the beginning and the end especially.
Yes,
right. Those are the big things.
Those are the big things. But I look for that. I look for personality. I look for I also just look for marketability. I will look and say, oh yeah, he would be a great so-and-so, or she reminds me of a younger version of this actor we already have, and that actor has worked her tush off. So, we look at marketability for us, because we get calls all the time, and then there's niches that we need to fill, like minority niches, always, particularly Asian people. If I could find an excellent, like 50-year-old Asian man actor, I would just lay my soul bare for him, because he could work all the time. And it's just really hard. But minority races are hard to find.
Yeah. Do you feel like because, acting industry, mostly the leads in the commercial, for example, is going to be a white male. or
it's changing.
And I feel like it's changing now, right? So like, what kind of shift are you seeing in the industry?
Well, there's a lot of, they call it authenticity in casting. And I love that because it's like they don't want to see, like they will not say, for example, in casting now, they won't say this Asian man. They will say this is a Japanese man or this is a Filipino man. They will not say, so they will actually say that. And they will actually say, we are looking for a real Vietnamese woman for this. And I love that because I wouldn't like to be lumped into, well, they do say Caucasian woman, but they're a lot more specific with us.
Yeah.
But they are, I'm seeing a lot of that. And also with disabilities, the same. If it's a wheelchair person or a deaf person, they don't want somebody in a wheelchair. They want somebody who's an actor who actually uses a wheelchair. Because why not? And I've also seen it in terms of like gay actors, like they will say we're looking for, but they can't actually say because they have to hire you based on, they can't say that, but I've seen that happen. Yeah. I've seen that happen before. And I know in one instance where that 100% happened, when an actor that we represent was, really close to a role. And the casting director said, I'm not allowed to ask you this, but is he really gay in real life? And I was like, I have no idea. I really don't. And you shouldn't be asking me that question. And I was like taking up for my actor. I wanted just to lie and say, of course he's gay. I'd help him get the part.
Right.
But I'm not that kind of person. But, I said, I have no idea. And you shouldn't be asking me that question. I really don't know. And I didn't know. I didn't know. Yeah. It didn't make any difference to me in the world. So, but I am seeing authenticity in that. And I think that that's important for that. I'm seeing that trend. I'm seeing trends of also in terms of kids, but this has always been a trend that kids are getting roles who have zero experience too, who haven't done anything before. Yeah. And they just happen to have that little something, and we look for that little something too. For me, I always tell some people, they were like, how do you tell if a 5-year-old it has potential? How can you possibly tell? I said, for one thing, he or she can sit in a chair and talk to me because we have 5-year-olds who are just like,
yeah.
I mean, my grandson is 6. No way he can be an actor. He could not sit still. I mean, his feet would be up where I tried to wait with him in a waiting room for a doctor's appointment once, and just asking him to sit in a chair, you would have thought I'd ask him to suffer some sort of medieval torture. He was just like, he was all over that chair. But
that's funny.
But there's like a stillness that comes to film that you have to be able to do if you're a kid.
Yeah.
And a lot of kids can't do that.
That's true. Yeah. The stillness, man. And if they're not like reading, like that.
Right.
So,
yeah.
But even so, like I've seen, I've taped actors and stuff like that. And the parents would read them what it says. So that way they can memorize it that way and stuff like that. So.
Yeah. But I always just tell parents when they're doing that, yeah, it's fine to give them the line. Don't put any emotion into it. Do not put inflection in it. Just say, and I used to do that because I coached my kids as well. Yeah. And I would say, I remember my daughter was doing this callback for this really big TV movie at one point when those used to be all the rage. Before streaming, we had TV movies. But, and it was a big scene where her parents are like, pulling her apart. Like her mother's holding her, but her dad's trying to get her out of the arms. And she had all these lines like, Daddy, don't, Mommy, I want to stay with you. There's lines and everything. And we were in the waiting room when there were all these parents and they were coaching their kids. And it was a callback and they were going, you say this, and they were like right in their faces and doing that. And it was actually my daughter Caroline, and she looked at me like I was not being a good mother, and she said, what should I do? And I said, just go in there and pitch the biggest fit. Just pitch a fit like you did this morning when I wanted you to put your shoes on. Just pitch a fit. Right. Be emotional. And she was like, oh yeah. And she ended up getting the role. And I don't know that she did any of the lines, but this just making sure that they understood the context of what's happening. So what's happening here is that, your parents both want you and you don't want to, you want to stay with your mother. So pitch a fit because you're going to stay with your mother no matter what. So just remember that. That's your motivation here.
Yeah.
And then from there, most kids can do that stuff. Yeah. They're really good at that stuff. They haven't learned how to be bad actors just yet. So
yeah, that's one thing I loved about teaching kids as well, right? Like we do a lot of like improvised movie scenes and stuff like that.
It's
and
great.
they really get into it.
They do, because their sense of make-believe is really good. I mean, they have not lost that. I read this quote recently, and I don't remember who said it, but they were talking about how that the greatest loss of life is not death. The greatest loss of life happens slowly as we live life. Like little things are dying inside of us when we're still alive.
Yeah.
And I thought that sense of wonder of a child is something that, you need to keep alive. People should hang out with children. Even if you don't have them, hang out with somebody else's kid. Take a kid to a park or something. I mean, I see myself being, getting that excitement with my grandchildren now, because tell the 2-year-old you're going to go get an ice cream cone and you will see some real excitement. I'm thinking, when's the last time I really got excited over ice cream? I should get excited over an ice cream cone. This is delicious. This is so good.
That's one thing that really attracts me to the people that I hang around with, is seeing their inner child. Like musicians on stage. I was just interviewing Zach Robinson, who's an amazing funk artist, and he's like 67 years old, 68, something like that. And I see him. I'm very attracted to his energy, because when he's on stage, I can see the little kid in him. Yeah. And we were talking about that. He's like, I feel like a little kid when I'm on stage.
Yeah. It's true, though. It's important to do that. I mean, to be in touch with that, but to also just be in touch with a lot of the things that make you feel alive, that you tend to you just let them die, and I think that's not, I see it with people who, have been in a lot of bad relationships, and then they're just like that part of them that feels like they're, like loved and beloved. They've let that die a little bit. Yeah. And, we shouldn't do that. We shouldn't do that. We should keep your heart open, and you should not be so afraid of pain that you can't have an open heart, and those kinds of things. But I thought about that, and I thought, I'm not letting anything inside me die. I'm not going to let things die. I'm going to try to keep those things awake, so I don't, because when you think you really are losing your life if you let those things.
And a lot of that has to do with how vulnerable you are.
Yeah.
And that's where it really. That's the start of bringing out that child.
Right. It is. But vulnerability is a hard thing to rekindle when you've lost it. So, but believe me, I've kept my grandchildren by myself before for several days. Believe me, you are very vulnerable. I'm sorry, I'm going to the bathroom right now, but I want to come with you. Okay, come on in. And when just all lack of privacy, everything. So, it's kind of like it brings you back to your core of everything. So,
do you feel like with your own kids, do you feel like they lost that, or because the way you raised them or the things they've experienced in life, it's just part of their life? They always have that child coming out.
They know that I've never been afraid of having fun and doing crazy things. Yeah. I told them at one point, if they didn't have a child, like they were both, that neither of them were married, but they were like in their early 30s, and a lot of my friends' kids were having babies, and I desperately wanted a grandchild. Yeah. And I was probably, I was in my 50s then, and I said, look, if one of you doesn't have a baby soon, I'm going to have my own child, and it's going to be my own grandchild, and you guys all have to help me take care of him. And I said, they looked at me, they said, you couldn't do that. I said, I beg to differ. Older women,
just roll up my sleeves real quick.
Older women than I have given birth before. It's not impossible. And they were like, they looked at me and they looked at each other, and I think they both thought, they said, Mom, please, no, that would not be good. You're serious. I was like, but but they know that I think they would say that, I was fun, and we did crazy things. We did a lot of it. And even, now I think so. Yeah. There were some serious times in there when they were teenage girls and everything, when I probably wasn't so much fun. But they know. I think they do. And they seem to be in their parenting. They're amazing mothers, both of them. Incredible. My husband and I were talking about that this morning as we were walking, as a matter of fact, just how it gives us we don't worry about about them. They're both in really solid relationships, and they're both amazing parents.
Yeah,
So,
well,
but they both chose to thank you.
Come on, you and your husband.
But they both chose to have just one child. They both just said, the way the world is and our lives and all this kind of stuff, we just want one. So, but I'm happy. I'm very happy with these two little boys that absolutely, slay me in every possible way when I'm around them. Because physically, emotionally, everything. Gosh, I'm usually so tired and so sore because we're all in when we're with them. And my 6-year-old, if he says, Amma, climb up here, like we did this. We were on a Disney cruise last year. We went on the Disney Wish, which was so much fun.
Yeah.
And they had this like obstacle course, and it was bouncy thing, and there was a race, and 2 people had to do it together to race against other teams. And we were on our way to the pool, so I had on a bathing suit and a cover up, and I was not intending to do this, but it was a now or never thing. So I said, come on, let's do it. Oh my God, I'm swinging over things. I am not that fit. He was like, come on, Alma, we're going to lose. And the last part of this was this gigantic slide you had to climb up.
Oh boy.
And then you had to slide down it. And I got this rug burn on my tush. As I was like, oh my God, Arlo, look at this. Look what Amma did. He was like, we didn't win. And I'm like, yeah, and Amma's butt's going to be sore the whole time. But, a lot of people were like, I can't believe your mother did that with him. I was like, think twice the second time. I'm not doing that again, okay?
You're going to do it.
Oh, probably. He asked me again. I just didn't want him to think I was like this old person that wasn't able to have fun.
Yeah.
So
Well,
we do everything, and Hot Wheels and all the he's really into Legos now.
Oh, nice.
And then the younger one is just into trucks, everything. And I don't know that world. I had girls, so
whole different world right there.
Red truck. Okay.
All right, whatever. It's that energy.
It is.
Energy
It's great though. It's really good. Hang out with kids.
Yeah.
I hope I can always do that.
Speaking of energy, I know we talked just a tiny bit about the spirit world. Have you ever how's your energy level as far as like being attracted to the spirit world?
Well, I can say in my dreams, of course, I've had some like amazingly realistic dreams of people that have passed or aren't on the earth anymore. And, I used to dream a lot about my mom right after she passed. I did. I would say more than anything else, Oliver, I kind of feel like I can be doing anything, and I'll have like a strong emotion, and I'm wondering, and I'm in a quandary about what to do, and something will just happen, and I just feel like, I would definitely say, and some people would laugh at this, but I felt like I am like part of, I'm like a puppet that someone is playing or is making things happen.
Yeah.
I would say for sure I've been open to that before, and it happens, just when I feel like, if I've ever felt like super down and something will just happen that will be super unexpected, and I'm thinking, I don't know if my mom, my dad, somebody is like saying, let's help her out. She's having a hard day today or something.
Those moments are amazing. I mean, I remember when me and my best friend, I've met 3 of his family members in spirit. And one of the things that happened where we and him were sitting on chairs, watching TV, nightstand between us, and we were just drinking shots. And we took a shot, zipped it back up, twisted it back up, and then all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, like the cap of the liquor bottle just and shot up in the air.
Oh my God!
And he was like, "Oh, my dad wants us to take another shot." I was like, "Okay, here we go." So like things like that was
that's so funny,
pretty amazing. But yeah, it's the energy that you feel.
Yeah,
and it's like all of a sudden something shifts, and it's like, I don't know if you had this experience, but like, it's almost like an energy wave hitting your body.
Yeah.
Like,
it's interesting. I was actually with my dad when he passed away. And so, he was in the process of dying, like literally when I got there. And the nurse who was with him, she said, it's not going to be long. And I remember I just like jumped in the bed with him, and I was just holding on to him. And I just, for the longest time, I just kind of stayed there, even after she said he's gone. And I just stayed there, and I just held him, and I said, just in case there's any anything left that he's still feeling, and I just want to make sure he knows he's loved and that I'm here and I'm holding him. And for the longest time, wait till almost till it was creepy, and then I got up. But the funniest thing happened.
Yeah.
So right away, I'm dealing with that and those emotions. We all took a minute, but I wanted to call both of my daughters, and my daughter Aubrey was working on a TV show in New Orleans at the time. She was there with her little boy, and anyway, so I tried to get through. And I couldn't get through to her, or maybe I was trying to call. I wanted to call her, and somebody called me. I can't remember. I was a little bit delayed. Anyway, when I finally got up with her, I said, Pop just passed away, and we were talking, and then all of a sudden she says, "Whoa, wait!" She said, "Hang on, Mom. I'm sorry. And so then I hear her say, "Oh, it's okay. He's nice. It's okay." And she said, "Oh my God, you're not going to believe what just happened." She said, "I was out in the yard because Arlo was playing, and this puppy just came running into the yard." And she said, it didn't register with me at first that it was a puppy. So she said, I had to go and make sure he was okay. And I grabbed him, and then this owner came around the corner and said, "George, where were you?" That's my father's name. Oh, no. And she was like, wow. That's so weird, because there's not too many dogs named George.
Yeah,
and,
that's true.
And, she said, what are the odds that this puppy that just happened this, minutes after my grandfather died, that this puppy named George was there? And I thought, I don't know, if my father could have come back as a puppy, he probably would. He probably would.
Say bye to your daughter.
I know, but she just said, "Oh my God, it's just the weirdest thing."
Oh.
But I've had some wonky things like that.
Yeah.
So my husband, who doesn't believe in any of that stuff, would say, "Oh my God, are you kidding? It's just circumstance. It's just,
Yeah.
But I will go, nope.
Right.
Nope.
Yeah, I didn't have a situation like that. I remember when again, same friend, his grandfather passed, and like 3 days later, I was laying in the bed, and I was just like like that, and I felt a hand just do this, and I didn't want to turn around because I didn't want to see a ghost. But then all of a sudden, I felt a grip so hard that I could feel bone on bone.
Oh, wow.
And it jolted an energy in me so fast that I was laying on my stomach, and all of a split second, I was sitting up against my headboard. And I was like, it's almost like I'm getting electrocuted, but flashes came through my head of his like kind of life from like young kid all the way up through when he was in hospice, when I last saw him. And then all of a sudden just fade to black. And I was like, whoa. I think it was just saying bye, but that's a hell of a way to say bye.
Yeah.
Right?
It is interesting, people living long enough to be in hospice and that, because my mom dying super suddenly, and then my dad died over decades. We actually thought he would die when he was like 60, and he lived to be 93. So, because he had all these heart conditions and stuff like that. But people have often asked me, which do you think it's better, just to lose somebody like that, or to like lose somebody, because it's hard to watch someone deteriorate and like gradually lose function of this and not able to do that and all that. But I would say in my mind, my mother is frozen at 45 years old. I used to meet people who are like my age and say, "Don't take this the wrong way, but you remind me of my mom," and they would go, "Your mother?" "Well, we're about the same age." I said, No, you don't understand, because she's frozen. I can't even imagine her any older than that. But with my dad, I had plenty of opportunities to do everything, to tell him everything, and it was that, what a gift that was. Even as hard as it was to watch him deteriorate, it was still really, really good to be. We did all the things. We did all the things.
You were able to talk to him, and like, I'm sure you asked him all these questions that you've always wanted to know.
We did. Yeah. We did. We talked a lot. I saw him every day. He moved to Raleigh to be closer to me, and we talked every day.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show again.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
This was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
I didn't know what to expect, but I knew that it was all going to be love. It's all love, Terri.
I come from a long line of talkers, Oliver.
Oh, so I'll never have to worry about you. Okay, got it.
No, we could do a different show every week.
Yeah.
Terri and Oliver chat.
Yeah, there you go. Both Leos.
Fireside chat. That's right. That's right. You remember that.
That's right.
That's right. Good.
All right. Well,
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
That's it.
All right. Cool. Awesome.